Look at the sun on these meadows. It's warming up already. Barely 7 o'clock. It's going to be a hot one. Definitely going to be a hot one. The preening season's coming to an end now. There's a lot more birds on. I haven't found a single red kite flight feather this year, which is a shame, because I always like to get a new feather every year, stick it in my hat. Haven't found a single one this year so far. They're quite impressive. Here's a couple I found in previous years. I'll show you the photographs. But yeah, it's nice to hear the bird song coming back to the hedgerows. It's my favourite little ash grove. I love it here. Yeah, alright, there's a couple of oaks in amongst it, but this is mostly ash. The trust that manages this area has had to take a couple down because of ash dieback disease. But I'm pleased these are surviving so far, because they're very pretty trees. And in case you didn't know, the little winged helicopter seeds they produce, which are called ash keys, if you get them when they're young and green and soft, you can pickle them and they're really quite delicious. Here's a very good demonstration of why rosebay willow herb is also known as fireweed. Because once it's flowered and the flowers start going over, the plant starts dying off for the winter, and it withdraws all the chlorophyll from its leaves, and you get these wonderful yellows and reds. And when they're all like that, it does look like a fire. And the illusion is increased even more by the release of seeds, because these pods that you can see on the plants here. Oh no, grasshopper just there, look. See him on the leaf? These pods here, they do eventually rip open a bit like a banana, and what you're left with is this. These ones have started ripping open, and there's these wonderful fluffy seeds that get carried away on the wind. And it started happening a few times here and there. In fact, you get a little gust of wind and a bunch of them fly past you. And yeah, that can give the appearance of smoke when there's lots of it sitting above the fireweed. Gorgeous, isn't it? You might recall I was out looking for galls the other day, different types of wasp galls. I've just found another different kind of one. This one here. These are spangle galls. And each one of those little individual cups contains a wasp grub, a tiny little wasp grub that will emerge one day and become a new wasp. But yeah, spangle galls. Don't see those very often over here. And a bit of a difficult spot on the underside of just one leaf on an oak tree, but caught it on my eye as I went past. Now, leaving the spangled gall oak tree and going to the next oak tree, this is the one that's got the cherry galls, and lots of them. Look at that, it's 3 on one leaf there. These will go bright red in about a month or so. These are the ones that are laid underneath the leaf into the veins, as opposed to the ones that are laid on the stem, like this one over here. That one there, that's a marble gall, and that one will swell up and go dark brown and hard and quite woody. Spangle galls are like buses. You wait for one for ages and then a bunch come along at once. Just found 3 leaves on this tree that are covered in them. Look at this. It's not a gall I commonly see over in these fields, these meadows, so nice little treat for this year, for 2024. And here's a knopper gall caused by yet another kind of gall wasp. This one injects its egg into the actual acorn itself and causes the acorn to distort and mutate. And another knopper. Wow, that one is an absolute beauty. Look at the size of it compared to my thumb there. What a cracker that one is. You can see where it's exploded, can't you, from the flesh side of the acorn and distorted. That's an absolute corker. Some more marble galls where the wasp is injected into the leaf bud. As we've been talking about galls on this video, I just wanted to show you this. This is a very different kind of gall. This is from last year. This is called a robin's pincushion. And again, it's a gall wasp, but this is one that targets fruit trees, and in this case it's targeted a dog rose, because of course rose hips are a kind of fruit. But there are some fresh ones on here. So there's one just here. Ow, if I don't get scratched too much. Look at that beauty. Look at that beauty there. Yeah, this is another gall wasp that lays its egg into the tissues of the dog rose and causes this extraordinary dramatic swelling. I said it's called a Robin's pincushion, and it's a thing of beauty. What's that? 4 or 5 different galls in 1 week? I call that a proper gall haul. This particular dog rose has always been of interest to me anyway, because growing at its heart is a very healthy mistletoe. Here it is, look, if I walk right into the centre here. Yeah, look, mistletoe. And all of those fertilised buds that are on there at the moment will all turn into the white berries in time for Christmas. I'm not sure whether it will be visible at the moment because of all the foliage, but this crabapple tree, this wild crabapple tree, also has loads of mistletoe growing in it. And can I see any? I see quite a lot of crab apples, but can I see any mistletoe this year? Oh yes, I can. Oh, I've got to go right in under here. Hang on. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, look at this. There's a big bunch here. Big bunch of mistletoe just hanging here. Again, it's not quite ready to get its berries yet, but they are starting to develop. Look, there they are. Yeah, and I know for a fact there's another mistletoe clump further up. In fact, I can see it, but you won't probably see it on the video. You're a happy dog. Oh, nearly lost my hat there. Got the chin strap today. Thanks very much for joining me on this channel. If you enjoy these meanders, then that pleases me immensely, because the whole idea of it was just to act as a sort of counterpoint to the fast pace of everyday life. I've slowed down a lot over the last few years, and life's much better for it. The pineapple weed is at its yellowest and fruitiest. This is a good time to make tea with it. The problem is it tends to grow on the margins, so this is all dog pea zone area. So much like being on the best fairground ride ever, mustn't it? Theme park ride. Come to Oakland. A magnificent oak tree, composed of about 5 or 6 different stems, but it's got all these lovely little tunnels and caves and nooks and crannies underneath it because of the way the trunks are formed. It's marvellous, isn't it? Look at them all. I love that one. It's a really nice one up there as well. Yeah, it's just one of those trees which, I mean, how many is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's 9 individual parts of this growing up. It's the most magnificent oak. It really is. This one's just as good. This one's only got about 3 or 4 stems coming off it. But again, lots of these little tunnels and little places for fairy folk to live. I actually made a little fairy house a couple of years ago and hid it there. I don't know whether it inspired it, but they put a bird box on the back of here now. Yeah. I'm coming. Go on in. I'm just coming down to the twistiest and gnarliest tree and these entire woodlands, which is this thing. I think it's dead. I think it's dead, and actually I think it's composed of about 2 different trees, but this thing here is extraordinary. I mean, some kids put a stick through it. Better get rid of that, wouldn't it? Don't want to damage it, do we? But yeah, this thing is quite amazing because it's composed of this sort of weird log and these half hollowed out sticks, and then it's got this wonderful sort of eyepiece you can look through. That's part of the top of it. Silly, isn't it, getting excited about a tree, but I do. On this one plant you can see how the hogweed is going from flowers to seed heads, and when these little seeds dry out, they are delicious. They taste like a cross between a sort of cardamom and orange, and they're a beautiful flavouring with custards and things like that, and people just don't use them these days. which is a shame. Our ancestors did. Such a difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday it was so windy here that these rosebay willow herb were being almost knocked flat, or at least 45 degrees to the ground. Today it's quite still, it's lovely and warm, and it's so quiet. But all I can actually hear is the grasshoppers, the crickets, the chuffing of my idiot pug, and it's really rather lovely. I'm just going to go and check out this sweet chestnut tree. Last year this developed chestnuts for the very first time, which is kind of appropriate because they don't really start producing chestnuts until they're about 10 years old, 12 years old, and that's how old this one is. And yeah, we had our first chestnuts last year, and it's pollinated. It's all done very well. The flowers are dying off now. There's some of the flowers here, look, down here, the long spindly flowers. They're all just dying off now. They've all pollinated. No sign of any chestnuts yet. A lot of new buds though, a lot of new buds on each of the stems, so that's encouraging. I should come back and check it in a month or so, see how we're doing. It'd be lovely if it had proper edible chestnuts this Christmas. Last year they were a little bit meh. They were very, very tiny and they weren't very usable. This year, who knows, might get sweet chestnuts. Well, there's a nice big patch of field sorrel growing in the middle of my lawn, and also an awful lot of windfalls. Most of these are fairly rotty, but I'm going to start gathering them up. It looks like it's going to be a good autumn again, and certainly judging by the amount of apples on the tree, yeah, it's a Bramley. Oh, I've got a little blackbird fledgy down here. You need to be up somewhere safe away from the cats, my friend. Thought he might be a little bit dehydrated, so at least he's got some water there. I'll put him in the bushes in a minute. Incidentally, if you ever do come across a freshly fledged bird that's jumped or fallen out of the nest, just leave it. Just leave it. It will find its way to cover and it will call out, and its parents will come and continue feeding it wherever it is. This was a slight exception because he'd fledged from a tree and landed on my patio where I'm rebuilding decking at the moment, and there's nowhere for him to have actually hidden there. So I gave him a drink of water and picked him up and I put him in some bushes where he continued to call out. Sure enough, I saw mum and dad blackbird going down and feeding him a little bit later. Oh, and incidentally, there's no problem with handling birds either. They've got a very poor sense of smell generally. Not like mammals, you know, if you handle a young mammal and give it back to its parents, sometimes it will disown the baby because it can smell the human on it. It doesn't happen with birds. It's why, incidentally, if you want to keep squirrels out of your bird feeder, put chili powder in with the nuts and things like that, because it doesn't affect the birds at all, but it does affect the mammals. So there you go, there's your tip for today. Well, there's a pretty little feather. Not sure what it's from. Could be a red kite, I suppose. Could be an owl. Maybe even a jay. I honestly don't know. If you know, leave a comment. Yeah, what a pretty little thing to find. Lovely. Oh, it's gone. The wind. Well, the wind's starting to get up again, and that's probably it for this week. So thanks very much for watching. Do like, do subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and I'll see you in the next video. But in the meantime, Toodle-pip. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing, or click on some of these links to look at some of the other videos on the channel, or press the like button, or leave a comment. It would be lovely to hear from you. Any combination of those four things would be wonderful. Thank you very much.